This is Dr. James Crosby, Head of Sustainability at Advantage Utilities. I'd like to ask, could your organisation be more of an energy sector hero? Are you interested in improving your sustainability as a business? Well, now you can obtain the expert view and guidance on renewable energy solutions, on-site generation, carbon accounting, and sophisticated grid energy purchasing options through Advantage Utilities. Our team of experts use the latest tools to better analyze, track, and reduce your organization's energy usage and carbon emissions. To find out how Advantage Utilities can become your one-stop shop for all your energy and sustainability needs, please visit www.advantageutilities.com or give one of our passionate and friendly team a call on 0208 131 4747.
Hi there, and welcome back to the Energy Sector Heroes podcast. My name is Michelle Fraser, and every week I will speak with incredible people who share their lessons, experiences, and stories from their time spent in the energy sector. Hi there, and welcome back again to this week's episode. If you're new to the show, then please take a second to subscribe and even consider sharing the show with just one other person. This week I am joined by Nick Maden. Nick has over 25 years experience in the energy sector and is currently the CEO, Managing Director at Impact Technology Systems. Nick, would you like to please introduce yourself?
Hi, well, my name's Nick Maden. I'm actually older than that. I've got sort of 40 years in industry experience. Geologist by background, and that's how I got into the oil industry, working as a geologist in the oil business, exploration, production, development, worked in business development and had a career path that took me through a number of companies, Arco, BP, Petro Canada, Suncor, Statoil, Weber have been the main companies I've worked for. And that's, while I've largely been based in London, I did spend 6 years in the US, but the job itself has always been international. So it's given me the great opportunity to travel probably around half the countries of the world. So wonderful career and a great industry and great people in it.
Excellent. So what has been your favourite country that you've worked in?
It's always, it's always difficult because there's different things to really enjoy on that one. I think in some ways, one of the countries that I actually feel sort of most privileged to have worked in, and it might sound an odd country, was Syria. Was actually spent quite a lot of times visiting Syria and did spend 6 months in one go drilling some wells in Syria. And it's an incredible country, incredible history, and amazing people. And I would go backwards and forwards to Syria over a period of about 20 years, up to, unfortunately, the breakout of the civil war. And it was amazing to see that country's progression in that time. And what all I ever met in Syria were people who were friendly and really, really nice. So to see the troubles and the things that have happened since always feels odd in relation to my experiences in the country.
Okay, interesting.
So a little different. A little different, but the history of the country was absolutely fascinating. It really is sort of the, between Syria and Iraq and Iran, it's really is the sort of the cradle or the birth of so much in the country. And it was a country that you could easily walk around and find all that history and all those things to see. And so it just made it a very, very fascinating place to be.
I think so too. I've not visited it, but I've heard that it's an amazing country. So how did you get started in the oil industry then?
I suppose it really goes back to school. At the end of the day, how you end up in life sometimes goes back to somebody who inspires you. And, and I was fortunate at the school I was at, a small boarding school in North Yorkshire. We had a geology teacher who obviously taught geology. And he was one of those teachers to me that was just inspirational. He might not have been inspirational to everybody in the class, but to me, he was one of those inspirational teachers. and he taught the subject with a passion, and I loved it, and I found I was good at it. And so it became one of those natural subjects when looking to go to university to do a degree. What do you do a degree in? And the answer was I did it in a subject that I really enjoyed, which was geology. And then once you're at university in geology and you're thinking about employment, from a geological side or a geologist side, the things that are open to you are oil, really, or mining. At the time I came out, while the industry was tough to get into, overall, there's sort of more jobs open to geologists in oil and gas than it was in mining. So it became a natural progression to sort of get into that. It was a tough job to get into. When I look at my first degree course, out of 30 people on my first degree course, there's probably 5 people got into the industry. And on my master's course, because I went and did a master's, there was 26 of us, and I think 6 of us got into the industry on that side. So, having the degree and doing the postgraduate studies didn't guarantee you entry. It was all about passion, perseverance, persistence, and just keep trying. And so you sort of get there, I think, because you wore people down rather than people lining up to hire you. But I got in and loved it ever since. And it's been a career that I've been lucky that it's seen me through to the current age.
Do you think persistence is quite key when looking for work in the energy sector?
Totally. I mean, I was, I reckon that from between my graduate applications and my postgraduate applications, I probably wrote 300 applications to just on spec, chasing things and chasing down jobs and, taking, the first job I really took, proper job, was with Arco, and it was way beneath what my education or my degree should have guaranteed me. I ended up working as a technical assistant, which for the first 2 years meant colouring in maps, folding paper, photocopying books, and just helping around the department. Even though I was as qualified as the people I was working, it was the only way I could get my foot in the door. And once I got my foot in the door, it was about then gradually working my way and gaining more responsibility until, literally after 2 years, I finally got promoted into a geologist role. But it was tough. If I'd have given up easily, I would have been like the other people on my course, a few letters, no job, moved on to something else. It was hard, persistent chasing from, first degree to second degree, which I had to pay for myself. We didn't get any grants for it, so I had to work while I was doing that master's degree to live. And and then when I came out of that, taking a job that was way beneath what I was qualified for, but it was the only job open to me, and then it was get in and work and take it all and gradually step up. So yeah, persistence makes a bit of difference. Hard work makes a difference. Nothing was given; it all had to be earned and worked on. And I think that's still true.
I think it is still quite true, because a lot of graduates that I've spoken to do find it quite hard to get into the industry. What would your advice be to them?
It's a tough one, because it's, to me, it was, as I say, it was very hard. And I would just say that persistence is if you don't have it, you're unless you're lucky, you're just going to fail. Okay. And then within that, once you're in there, at times I wondered if I was going to have a career. I was in companies, that did multiple layoffs, when I was at Arco. When I joined Arco, it was 56,000 people. And 16 years later, when the company was bought by BP, we were down to 16,000 people. And basically, we went through 7 sets of layoffs while I was there. And so just surviving in a company that's downsizing like that was a combination of luck and hard work, making yourself to the point where you didn't just have to be, it wasn't a case of being good to be promoted. It was a case of being good to survive. And so it was a tough work. When I look at where it is now, it won't be any easier. I'm not convinced it's any tougher. The uncertainty I'd have for somebody trying to join the industry now is, I'm lucky. I've managed to get 40 years out of the industry. I'm not sure anybody today joining it will get 40 years. So I do think, when you're in these companies, what you do have to do is broaden your skills so that as the company evolves and changes, you have a skill set that evolves and changes as well. The challenge is if you're labeled with one particular set of skills and the company moves away from those skill sets, you become surplus to requirement. So even when you get into a job, it's about continuous learning. It's about looking for, growth. It's about looking for new opportunities. It's about looking for development. So although I started as a geologist, I've picked up a lot of skills in other areas through my career. And those skills have largely been picked up by me trying to pick them up, not by the company teaching me or handing them. So it really is me developing the skills and then utilizing the skills within the company.
So is that really hard to do? Because I know that some of the younger generation, they maybe only just are focused on their own current job, may not want to take on extra responsibilities. But I think that it's important to take on extra responsibilities because it's one of the ways that you will get them skills that you were discussing.
I mean, I've always, in my career, I've pretty much always had a 5-year plan. Where I was today with a view of where I wanted to be in 5 years' time. And then, and usually it was by looking up in the company at an individual and saying, what I'd like to be is, like that person in that role, doing that sort of job in 5 years' time, and then finding out what skills do I need to get in those areas, and then working out how I could get those skills, taking those opportunities, but with a view about where you want to go. Standing still and I'll say just keeping your head down and doing your job, it shows no growth as an individual. I think you should be always looking to, get better, looking to learn new skills, looking to improve, looking to move on. And to me, the way of doing that was to look up in the company at individuals who, whether they knew it or not, I was using them as a role model. Okay.
So is it important to have role models then and mentors during your career?
Well, I'd take role models away from mentors because I think the two often get picked up. But I think in life in general, you often have people that you look up to. It can be a family friend. It can be, it can be a relation. It can be a family relation. Or it could be a schoolmate or something. There could be somebody in your life that you actually, you look up to, you want to be like. We do it. We copy people, we copy fashions, we copy styles, we listen to, individuals on that side, and we use people to, who we aspire to be. And I think when you work in a company, you look around and there's two sides to it. You look at role models of some people that there's no way I want to be like that person. And it's like, and so you look about what you don't like about them and you avoid that in your own life, in your own career. But you look at people that inspire you positively. And I think you look at them and you try and copy them, and I think that's important. And it's important in your career growth, and it's important certainly in oil and gas industry. I always feel that I learned more from my failures than I did from success. The secret of any failure is to try and not repeat it. The problems with success is that sometimes we have success through luck, and therefore we think we can do it again and again. And the answer is we can't. Really understood what made us have that success. But failures, we have a habit of sweeping under the carpet. And I think, but the reality is those are the ones where the real learnings exist. So you bring that together, looking to people who set the right examples. Look at people also set the wrong examples, and learn from those. And then in your career, look at your positives that you've done well, and look at the negatives and try and learn from them.
Do you really think that success is partly down to luck?
There's some of it, yes. There's, you being in the right place at the right time, having the right opportunity, making the right contact, meeting the right person. All those things can be luck. What I do feel is that everybody usually has that luck, has that opportunity, has that chance to do something, and what you need to do in life is take that risk. If it's sometimes something, an opportunity presents itself, and if you're ever going, no, I can't do that, I'm not good enough for that, or I don't know that, or it's too much of a risk, and you don't take it on, that opportunity will pass you by, and it might never come back. I think I've taken on opportunities where it's like, I'll do the best I can, and I'll give it everything I've got, but I've got a lot to learn. So let's not be frightened of it, but let's take that opportunity. And I think everybody has those little opportunities in their lives, but not everybody takes them, and that's the challenge. Take the opportunities, take that risk.
Do you think it's important to take the risk? Because maybe some of the younger audience might think, oh, I'm not really qualified or experienced to do this particular job that I've been offered, and might shy away from it. Whereas, do you think that that's the best thing for them to do, or?
My simple answer is no. As long as in a process, when you've been looked at when you're looking for a job or chasing a job or within a job, as long as the person at the other side who's offering you the job, really understands, what your skills are, what your experiences are, what you've done. If you've been pulling the wool over their eyes, pretending you've done things that you haven't done, and then you get offered the role, then obviously you've put yourself in a bad position. But if you've actually been really straight about what your experiences are and what your knowledges are, then yes, you take those opportunities, because, if you've been straight, on that sense, what I've always find is that, people are willing to help. One of the things I always used to, to aim for as a leader in any company was to have people who work for me to trust me enough to come to me and say, I don't know how to do this. Can you help? And the answer is yes, of course you would. You always would do it. What always was frustrating is the ones who wouldn't come for help when they needed it. So if you get an opportunity to step up to something that you're not sure how to do, when you're not sure whether you cope, you've got to be able to, trust the person offering you the job, that they understand your limitations, and you're going to need, you've got to ask for help when you need it. Don't be proud. The person's taking you on that side. And as I'm talking to that, I'm thinking of a guy that I worked with many years ago, and he was a fresh graduate into the company, and I was a more senior person. And together we took on tasks that were way above both of us on that sense. But it was really good because, I remember publicly in the meeting saying that, working with this guy, Andrew, was that, we often started tasks not knowing how to do something. But the attitude between us meant we always found out, and we always worked out how to do it, and we always got it done. And I think that was so I said, I always loved working with Andrew because I knew we could start on something that both of us didn't know how to do. But with effort and being inquisitive and talking to people, we would find out how to do it, and we'd do it. And that's all about attitude. And I think if you got that attitude, you can take on tasks. You haven't to be afraid of failure. Particularly in the energy business, particularly in the oil and gas business. We fail all the time. We drill bad holes, fields don't work out, projects don't work, they overrun, the cost goes, we fail repeatedly all the time. if you're afraid of failure, you never take on any of these tasks. So you've got to accept that in an industry like that, you will have successes and you will have failures, and failures, if you learn from them, are just as important as successes.
Do you really think that we do fail quite a lot in the energy sector or oil industry?
It's like a degree, isn't it? It's sort of like there's nothing is a binary outcome often. Drilling an exploration well is often a binary outcome. It's a discovery. It's not, but most things aren't binary outcomes. There's degrees of success and there's degrees of failure. And so the reality is that you will have things that don't go as you had expected, will go wrong. And in the industry, in the energy industry, really more than anything, is a risk management business. It is about understanding the things that could go wrong and trying to mitigate for them and trying to prepare for them and trying to work out how you would deal with them. Because you never start a project that goes exactly as you expect it to. Things go wrong. And sometimes the things that go wrong are within your power and capability to fix and solve. And other times you got to put your hand up and you go, I need help. This isn't going as we expected. I need help, and you'll get that help.
Okay. So have you experienced any career disasters then, any problems?
Career disasters is no, not out and out failures, but I've spent $1 billion in a bid round in Brazil where we were very successful in getting licenses against a lot of tough competition, and the reality is pretty much all of them have been dry holes and disappointments. You could describe that as a failure. It was a success that became a failure. But that's the nature of the business. You are trying to succeed, but you don't always do. Out and out disasters, not really, no. But things have disappointed, have gone wrong, But it's one of those things. You've got to play the game to win. But you will have some bad hands.
Okay, so how do you play the game to win then?
Well, first of all, you've got to be competing. It's as simple as that. Is that if you're standing back because the risks are too high and you don't compete, well, then you've never given yourself a chance. So it is about, first of all, it is about being prepared to take that risk, and it's about trying to compete. The way of trying to win is to try and really understand the risks. And between projects and opportunities, really understand the risks and try and understand which are the better ones with the lower risks and which are the worst ones with the higher risks. And therefore, and have more opportunities in front of you than you can do. And then it's about choosing the opportunities that give you the best chance of success. So, it is one of those things. The whole thing is a portfolio game. And what you have to do is be able to sort through that portfolio and understand the better things, and that's true for all things in the oil industry, or the energy industry. It's understanding the difference between projects and which ones are potentially the better ones, and if you're good at doing that, and you work with people who are good at doing that, then you'll give yourself a chance that enough of them will be successful to outweigh those that are failures.
Okay, because there is some projects, well, probably quite a lot of projects in the energy sector that do fail for one reason or another.
Yeah, totally. I've drilled my share of dry holes. I've succeeded in expensive land sales that haven't delivered anything. But at the same time, I've got a lot of projects to my name that have been successful, and so it's, I can look back, and on the balance, I know I've delivered far more, to the companies I've worked for and into the countries that I've worked in than the failures. So, but it has been participating. If you're frightened to participate, then you might not have any failures, but you have no successes.
It's really wise words, actually. Very
It's
wise words.
and you can take that into your career. My ex-wife's mother always used to say, that she had never failed at anything in her life, and I always used to think that means she must have never tried, really reached for anything. She must never have tried for anything. She only took on things that she could be completely successful. So therefore, in her life, she really underachieved. Shoot for the stars and you might get to the moon. But if you don't even shoot for the moon, you're going to stay on the ground. And that to me is a true thing in that thing. Go for things, and if you fall short, you fall short. It's interesting. There's a lot of stuff in the moment about government targets, and it's considered a failure if you don't meet your target. But a target is an aspiration. It's where you hope to get there. And if you set your target a long way away, you might not get there. But if you come pretty damn close, you've moved the needle a long way. If you set your target very close to you, so you've got a guaranteed hit, okay, you've met that target. But boy, have you missed an opportunity to stretch further. And that's true for so much in the world, We should be aspiring to, for greater things and falling short rather than aspiring to little things and always succeeding.
Okay. So is it important when you're making up your 5-year plan that you try and stay safe, or should you put a few risks there as well?
Well, I would say, you should have an aspiration that your chances of succeeding in 5 years might be small. But if you've succeeded it in 6, you've still done brilliant. So, and so you should be setting yourself a target that you really could, that you might not get to, but you'll get there, you sort of, I use the word eventually, but then what you have to do is that when you set that target, is what you really have to do is understand what it will take to get there. There's no point setting the target and then just expecting it to arrive. You've got to know the things that you've got to do it. So one of the targets I had when working for Arco was that I did want to get, up the ladder. But I recognized I worked for the British division of an American company, and that was limiting, And so I needed to get across the States and work at the head office in the States. And so I made the thing that every time I went to the States on business, I would ask for a meeting with the VP in charge of exploration, and I would go into his office and ask him about, an opportunities, the chances of coming to work in the office in the States to help me grow and develop. And, and I kept being turned down or being told, oh, there is an opportunity now, and being turned down, and it kept going. But it didn't stop me every time going on. And one of the bits I always laughed was this, one of the guys I worked with over there on projects, he said, well, the problem is you're wearing the wrong clothes. When you go to see this guy, he always wears a blue shirt and a red tie, and he has a little pen, a block pen in his shirt pocket. So he said, but next time you go, you've got to wear the same clothes as him. So we went down to Kmart or whatever, and we bought the polo shirts with the little, the polo emblem on it. And I got a red tie and I got a little block pen. And I went in for my meeting with him, and and the same thing, Jamie, I'd like to come over to the States and and work in the international projects and try and develop some skills and have all these sort of conversation. And he said, well, I'm not really sure there's anything available at the moment, but I'll think on. And I went home, and a month later I got a call. Yep, they've got a role for me in the States. Can you come along? And so the joke was it because I was wearing the right clothes, or was it because I'd done the right work? Who knows? But it's those little efforts that it takes.
Do you think it is just maybe as simple as that to dress smartly at work?
Yeah, I'm going to say something that's, it's, my wife was in the recruitment business for years, and I've recruited a lot of people in my career from side. It's amazing the people who are hiring somebody hire in their own image. they think in the role that they're in that they're good. Okay, so they want to hire somebody that's good, and so they want to hire somebody that looks like them, because if they've been successful in their job, they want to hire somebody that looks like them. So making, I'm going to say, a little bit of that effort to be, if they're a smartly dressed person, show them the respect and be smartly dressed. If they're a jeans and t-shirt person, you probably end up in jeans and t-shirt to make them feel exactly the same. But yeah, people hire in their own image. It's a bit like mini me's. That's what people hire.
Really, I never knew that, actually. I did not know that.
It's a lot of people in hiring saying, oh, they want something different and they want change and they want to bring in new ideas and new thoughts. But actually, that scares the hell out of them. And actually, what they want is somebody that looks like them, sounds like them, talks like them, and thinks like them.
Okay. Because sometimes during interviews, a lot of people say they want somebody that's got new ideas and who's innovative, but then when you get there, they might not even want that. So it's quite difficult.
Well, it is, but I mean, the reverse side, are you ever going to interview somebody and saying, well, look, actually, we don't want anybody who's got a new idea. We don't want anybody that's innovative. It's rare. If you actually take the words that people say in an interview about what they want and you flip the opposite, you would never imagine anybody saying the opposite. So everybody says these things because that's what's the right thing to say. But actually, the person doing the job, is so often looking for a version of themselves because that's what they feel comfortable with. Okay.
I never knew that.
Sorry to be disappointed. It's not. I mean, I fail all the time in interviews because, I have a habit of being slightly maverick, and that scares people, And I know that. I've had that feedback from headhunters and everything else. It's like, they wanted somebody different, but when they were confronted with somebody different like you, they actually went and played safe and took exactly the opposite to what they were asking for. And I've seen it time and time again.
Wow. That's quite amazing.
It's the challenge of diversity, not in the male female, any other sense. The challenge of diversity in around thought is people struggle in an environment where you've got lots of different opinions. So if you have people with different views and different opinions, it's in a company environment, people find that very, very challenging. So when I worked in Equinor, they were very, very proud of their diversity, statistics, and they had great statistics on that side. But boy, everybody looked the same, talked the same. We all went to the same universities. We all came from the same sort of social background. We all studied the same way. We're all working with the same tools and the same data. Why on earth would we expect any different results? And the answer is you don't. So they really wanted everybody to look and sound the same. And yet, they would talk about creative thinking and diversity thinking, but they were scared of it. But just about everybody is, because a lot of people don't have the confidence in themselves to work with somebody that actually who disagrees with them.
I think that is true. I think that is quite a very true statement. A lot of people don't want to work with anybody that could potentially challenge them. Yeah,
it's I'll use the word conflict. It doesn't, you can still get on with somebody without you can still disagree with somebody without them being conflict. But people often see disagreement as conflict, instead of seeing it as looking for alternatives. So the strength of any organization is where they can take discussions, where you can challenge. Now you can, the point about challenge is it has to be constructive. Telling somebody that their idea is silly, stupid, you know, is not being critical, it's not being constructive, but trying to tell somebody, instead of doing it this way, could we do it that way? You know, and trying to be positive in a constructive manner about doing things differently, putting your own ideas forward in that sense can be a great environment for what you're trying to create. But you invariably find that most people who disagree just moan and disagree. They don't actually put anything forward themselves.
Okay. What advice would you give to any new graduates, up and coming graduates, going into a situation like that? Then should they try and put their views forward, or?
There's always this: you got to build trust. You know, you've got to trust the people you're talking to, and they've got to build trust and understanding of you. What I think you have to accept all the time is that you know, as a graduate entry, you're at the start of a very long learning journey. Okay, so before you come out with your ideas, you know, at least do some understanding of what's been done before. You know, I'd frequently find in my career, you know, we'd have somebody and you say, look, you know, this is the way to do it, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they'd go, no, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. And you go, yeah, but actually we've done it 10 times that way and it's never worked that time. And they're going, well, I'll show you. And they'll do it. And then they'll come up and go, it didn't work. And we went, yeah, it didn't work. You know, we've tried it and tried it and tried it and it doesn't work. So that's why we do it this way. Now, if you can improve on this way by moving it forward, fine, but don't take it back and think you're going to be the first person to invent the wheel. So as a graduate coming in, it's important to understand, you know, what's been done, you know, how things have looked at, what the experiences are. It is a growth thing. And then you look how you can add, rather than thinking about, you know, how you've been in 10 minutes and you've solved everything. You know, it's like my wife now. If the first time I took her to a rugby match, she's Norwegian. I took her to a rugby match in the UK, and after about 10 minutes, she'd already come up with a whole series of things that she felt she could improve the game with. You know, and I'm going, we've been playing this game, you know, 100+ years. You know, it has evolved. I think that, you know, there are things we can get better and things will continue to evolve. But to really start after 10 minutes and thinking you could change the whole game and make it better, it is a little bit overconfident as to what your ability is.
I like that, though.
Yeah.
That is pretty neat. So going back to the challenges, what do you find most challenging about your roles in the energy sector?
You know, I'm going to say that in some ways the biggest challenge from a career side is people. You know, you know, in any large organization, you're going to be people you get on well with, and there's people you perhaps get on, we'll say, less well with. But there's very few people I've totally and utterly disliked. You know, but there has been a few. You know, but I can count them on one hand. You know. But there are other people that I have struggled with, you know, and occasionally you have to work with them, and you know, and that can be a difficult environment when you're working with somebody that, you know, for whatever chemistry reason, you don't get on well with, and that can be as important when you're working in a team, because the team chemistry might not be right, and that's a difficult one to work with. And then it's also important when you're a leader, when you've got a group of people working for you. You know, it's trying to be straight and honest, because there'll be some people in that group you actually like more than others, and yet everybody deserves a sort of an equal opportunity, an equal shout in the way they work for you, even though some of them you might struggle with on a personal level. So I do think you've got to be, you know, very honest about it. You know, there's a lot talked about unconscious biases, and we all have them. And I think one of the things that we have to do when working, you know, in a people organization, you know, with a lot of people, is to recognize our own unconscious biases. And if you recognize them, you can solve them. The problem comes when people don't recognize their unconscious biases and they let that impact the way they work with people. So, a lot of self-insight is an important way of fixing that. Find out what makes you uncomfortable with certain individuals more than others, and start to understand what are your biases that are driving you that way, and then start addressing them.
Because I was going to say, that's quite a complicated situation to be in if you're having to work with someone that you might find difficult. How would you even navigate that, especially for a young graduate that's maybe not worked?
It's I know it's you've got to have all your antennas up. The first thing is earlier on in your career you should listen more and talk less. Observe more and give be more cautious on giving opinions, but accept that and make an effort to learn people. It's no more of an extension of what you did at school or university, where there was people you got on well with and the people you didn't. In a lot of schools and university situations, you just stayed with the people you enjoyed, and you avoided the people you didn't get on with. When you get into a work environment and you put in groups, it's not like playing football where two captains line up and then you take turns picking the players. So you get to pick who you work with. You're put into teams that you're going to find that some people you really get on with and some that you struggle with. And I think you've just got to recognize that. But I think you've got to start to be grown up and start to think about why you struggle with an individual. And I can give a story about them. There was a guy who used to work for me, and I always found him quite threatening and very aggressive. And so did a lot of other people. And for ages, I couldn't work out what it was. And then what I actually eventually realized was that he would always stand in my personal space when he was talking to me. So he'd come to talk to me, and he'd always come and stand too close. And I would step back to give myself my personal space back, and he'd step back into it. So whenever I had a conversation with him, I was walking backwards down a corridor and he was like chasing me. And it was this quite feeling of aggressiveness. But it was a probably a slight cultural thing. He was from a different country, and he was just in my space. But once I actually started to realize that it was that, then I sort of, when he came and stood in my space after that, I let him stand there, and the whole sense of the conversations we had changed. The relationship changed because I started to understand where my issue with him came from.
Okay, interesting. Okay, no, I do like that, because it can be really challenging to work with people that you maybe from different cultural backgrounds.
Yeah. I think understanding people, when you're working in a job in a large organization in teams, the biggest challenge I think you have, in your career is recognizing who you work well with and who you struggle with, and understanding why you struggle with them, because at times they will be your colleagues, and you both need to succeed. And and so that to me has always been the biggest challenge. Is it's not saying you're trying to be liked by everybody, but you recognize that the more large an organization is, the more chance you'll have of working with somebody at some stage who you really struggle with.
Okay. But I think that's just part of the parcel of working in a large organization and working within teams of multidisciplined people.
It is, but from a career side, it's probably the first time you've ever done it. At school, you picked who you sat next to. You picked often who you worked with. The same in university. The friends you liked, you stayed with. The people you didn't like, you didn't spend time with. So you sifted the people that you were around, and that's how you made your friends and how you stayed with it. But when you get into a work environment, where teams are put together, as I say, you don't get that choice.
No, you certainly don't.
So it's a new skill you've got to learn. It's how to work and be with people for many hours of a day that you actually might not like. And you got to recognize that it works the other way. You might be working with someone where they don't like you.
That is very true. But how do you go about learning that skill? Because that could be quite difficult to pick up for a new graduate person.
I think it's like it's like everything. If you just if you think about it, then you just become more aware. And if you become more aware, you'll learn and you'll get better. If you don't even think about it, it's a skill you won't learn. So with all these things, there's a little bit of self-awareness, learning about yourself and learning about others, and not having the arrogance to think that you know everything and you're the best and that nobody else does, and to understand, to be a bit more conscious.
Okay. So I'm maybe going to try and wrap up. I was going to ask you, actually, if you were going to give any advice to any new graduates wanting to come into the energy sector, what would that advice be?
It might be almost don't, is the answer with the current transition. But I would have said, in companies that there's room to evolve. So, it is about recognizing that, when you start with a company, you haven't arrived. You're at the start of a new journey. And you need to think back a little bit. Is like, when you first went to school at primary school, you were at the bottom of the pile. And gradually, as you got older, you got to 11 and you were then one of the oldest in the school and the top of the pile. And then you went on to secondary school and you started at the bottom of the pile again. And as you got older, more, you got to the top of the pile again. And it's a little bit like going that into the company. You come out of, school, university with a degree, wanting to take on the world, hopefully, and feeling like you've got a lot to offer. But you're actually then coming in and you're starting again. And I think the importance of, the advice is to recognize in coming in, you might have developed a lot of skills, but you really are experience lacking. And a lot of people in the company had started with the same skills that you've got, but they've got the experience that they've built up over time. You will build that over time, and you will build that experience faster if you, listen to these people, ask these people, get them to help you, and take on new challenges. But you are at the start of a journey. When you start your career in a company, you're in a 30, 40-year journey. And you know what? You haven't got all the answers in the first year. And by any means, you haven't got all the answers in the 40th year. So, and it's the longest journey in your life you will do. It's longer than your childhood. It's longer than your retirement. You don't know everything at the beginning. There's a lot to learn, and that can make it fun. If you take on that learning as a challenge, as an opportunity, then you can have 40 years of fun, because learning can be really great.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. I'm going to ask you maybe one more question. If you can go back in time, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Learn a language. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I feel I've been blessed with my career, and I feel I've had some, wonderful opportunities, met wonderful people. Maybe, if I've been, maybe, apart from the language side, which I actually think is true, I wish I could speak a language. I feel inferior to all these people who can speak languages, including my wife, who can speak like 6. And I can barely master English, so she's so I would say that's important. But what I was actually going to say is enjoy it. I've had wonderful opportunities, but I and visited some amazing countries, but I didn't always take advantage of that opportunity, because you sort of often assumed it was going to come again. So in some of the places I went to, I didn't make the most of that opportunity. So I can think of a few countries that, that I would love to have visited more and done more and seen more, but I didn't. And that's just like a regret. So to me, in anybody in their career, enjoy the good times. There'll be, hopefully there'll be plenty of them, but make the most of them, because that's what gets you up in the morning. And the tough times will come as well, and just look at the tough times as a learning opportunity to get you to the next good time.
Excellent advice. So that's all the questions I have today. I would like to thank Nick for your time. That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening, and see you next week. That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, I'd like to gently encourage you to leave a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show with another person. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or via my website, www.michellefraserconsultancy.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next week.